beautiful day it is today. Believe it or not, I've been doing a lot of thinking recently. It's fair. It is. The thing that might be hard to believe is the main subject of this thought recently has been my dad. Some of you know it's on the calendar. His birthday was yesterday. But not just because of his upcoming birthday that I was thinking about him a lot on my last minute gift ideas and whatnot. We've been going through this study called Experiencing God, and the main verse that stuck out to me through this was John 14:21. It says, "Whoever has my commandments and keeps them, it is he who loves me, and who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him." So I started thinking about what exactly that might mean. All right, it seems like it could be a little redundant or confusing. The one who has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me, and the one who loves me will be loved by my Father. I also will love him and reveal myself to him, in a different translation. And so I started thinking about experiencing God through that. And so then I started thinking about my dad, because he says Father there, which I typically refer to God as Father through prayer. That's usually connects really well with me. I started to think about all the ways my dad and I are similar. And if you know my dad, then you know me, right? I don't know if you guys know Greg super closely, but my mom, Carol, sometimes is like, it's scary how similar you guys are. Our mannerisms, the way we talk, the way we think. And now how did this happen? Because of course, he's my dad, so I grew up with him. But it wasn't like I spent every waking second of every day memorizing stuff that he said, or trying to just get closer through him, through the people that knew him, or just in random, small encounters. It was wanting to be like him. That's how I got to be like him. I remember being young, growing up, and thinking, I want to be exactly like that guy. That's my hero. That's exactly who I want to be. And whether it was good or not, I ended up that way. Now we make jokes that I'm like a newer, better version of him. Definitely better looking, sorry. Although your mid-50s look good on you, I will say that. But, we've had talks and stuff, and it's really almost spooky and eerie how similar it is. I've come to him and talked about issues I have with relationships or how I process things or just stuff that is going on in my life, and he can just, like that, no, you thought this because of this. You connected this line to this line because of this experience you had, or this is the thought train you went down. I'm like, how is he so good at this? It's the exact same way he thinks. And that doesn't just come through growing up in a house with him, because I don't do that with any of my siblings. I don't do that with my mom. I don't do that with any of my really close friends. It's just him. So then I started thinking about that verse, the one who has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me, and the one who loves me will be loved by my Father. I also love him and will reveal myself to him. Through the Experiencing God study makes me think that loving God, knowing God, would be looking at Jesus. Like I said, if you see how I act, how I talk, how I think, then you know how Greg thinks and talks and acts. So that same applies to Jesus. That's what he's saying there. If you love me, if you keep my commands, if you understand my goal, what I've done here, then you love the Father. You love my Father. You love God. And so the big point I want to preface this is we need to be better about reflecting God in our lives. And by that, I mean that old song, the be a shining, like, don't hide your light under a bushel. This little light of mine. I don't know why I couldn't think of the title. I apologize. It's been a long morning. But that light's important. Because what is a light on a hill? It's a beacon of hope. If we're reflecting God, if we're reflecting his love and his commandments, we become that. Not just in being the light itself, but if you shine a light on a mirror, light comes back. Knowing God more, learning about him more, having an intimate relationship with him, he reveals himself through us. I don't know about you guys, but it's not super hard to have an interaction with someone and go, man, that's just a great person right there. It's a good person. You know, Aaron's a really great guy. We just have such great connections. He speaks so much life. He's awesome. Well, it's not Aaron, no offense. But that's the reflection of God in him. If Aaron didn't have a relationship with God, if I didn't have a relationship with God, we'd not be very fun to be around. We wouldn't be able to speak that life. You know, I baptized Andrea a couple weeks ago. I had no hand in that. Sure, we discussed it, and I made some points, and we had talked about it a lot, but I didn't move any of her heart or her mind or push her to take that decision. God did all the heavy lifting. And so it doesn't take us being someone like, now I'm forgetting another name. Oh no. I shouldn't have joked about Dad being old because now it's hitting me. Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to be these massive saints, right? These heavy hitters and big names in Christianity to reflect God. It's small interactions. It's small things. Because if we're not reflecting God, then what are we reflecting? Right. Exactly. You're going to reflect something, whether you want to or not. How you act, how you speak, how you think matters. People notice that. Like a kid watching their parent. They just soak everything up like a sponge. We do that at all ages. People around us do that at all ages. You can tell the merit of someone by how they act when they get in a road rage mode. And I'm not great about that, I'll be honest. I don't know how many times Andrea has heard me yell, nice turn signal. Real nice. And that's not even that bad. It's something about it just gets to me. But another verse I want to look at today is John 15, 9 through 10. It says, the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. So we think now, okay, how do we get to that point of reflecting God? What does that look like? What are the steps we could take? How do we apply this to our lives? Well, how did I get to be like Greg? Like I said, I wasn't writing down his quotes. Like, oh, that's the important thing I should focus on. As long as I've memorized all of everything he said, as long as I've memorized enough verses, I'll be like, God, is that good? Of course. We should be doing that. I probably should be listening to the advice that Dad is giving me. But that's not the relationship we're looking for. Start looking inward. What are you reflecting? It's not fun to look at yourself that way, but it's something that needs to be done. You've got to do some self-checking. It's important. You got to maintain yourself. I know plenty of people, myself included, who just want to put their head down and just power through the day. You know, like, oh, this hurts. I'll go to the doctor eventually. I'm not going to deal with it, right? I'm exhausted, but I got too much stuff to do. No, you have to slow down. Just like your body will break down, you need to do that internally as well. So clean the mirrors in your life. Clean what you're reflecting. Wipe off any of the gunk or handprints other people have been leaving on it. And start focusing. Focusing that light. What can you do in your day-to-day life to increase that beam? To increase that reflection? I know I struggle with it plenty. There are tons of things that, not just road rage, but other things that really just, I know I'm really bad about that. I should be better about it. I need to work on my sarcasm. I need to be better about the music I listen to, the movies I watch, the way I interact with specific people, my siblings depending on the day. How do I interact with people at work? I'll tell you, I work for health insurance, so I know I'm not a very good person, just from that, right? Deny. No. But I'm on the phones. It's a call center. It is rough. It's not fun. I do not enjoy doing that every day. I don't wake up and go, let's answer the phone for 8 hours about people who are mad that their claims are getting denied. Right? It's not something I look forward to necessarily. And that's something that I do struggle with as well. Some days it's not as bad. I'm a little better about taking control of the situation of the call and flipping it, right? Making it better. This person's having a bad day. Let's see if I can make it better. Let's see how nice I can be. Let's make this as enjoyable and seamless as possible. And some days I answer the call and they're already belching in my ear and they're breathing right in their mic. And I'm like, nope, this is going to be an uphill battle for you, pal. But that's horrible, right? I should not be doing that. Even in that small thing, even in that person I'm not face to face with. Even that person I'll probably never speak to ever again. But my name is on those records. They listen to our calls. Like my boss hears that. I interact with him every day. Do I look very Christianly if he pulls my log and is like, yo, Darren, why are you being so mean? What is wrong with you? No. So it's not just that person, it's the people who are going to see that interaction. It's people who have a connection to it. And sure, it's not all my fault. Like I said, sometimes they start it. No, I'm kidding. But it seems small, and it's constant, and it's every day. But it's like that for all of us. It's not going to get any easier. So try harder. That stinks, but that's how it is. If they're not going to give you an inch, you got to give them one. Maybe we need to bring back the cheesy bracelets, the WWJD. I'm impressed. Mine broke like 2 days in, I think. And I get another one, and I would just break that one too. I'm not very easy on stuff, though. But honestly, that was a huge movement. Do we all still think about that every day? Would that change our moods? Would that change interactions? How big of an impact would that be? If even just one of us changed that completely, and every decision we made was based off of what would Jesus do in this scenario, we would all see it. It would be massive. And now don't get me wrong, like I said, I have a hard time. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I'm just as fault as you guys, as everyone else. But I've been fighting and thinking about that a lot more. What does that look like? What reflection would that make? I think it'd be huge. I think it would not just change our entire outlook, thought process, our entire light, but I think it would change a lot of people around us. I think it'd start a lot of conversations. I think it would change a lot. Or communities. It's definitely not too big to change the world from that. I mean, that's what we're called to do. Because if we're loving God, if we're loving Jesus, why are we not acting like them? Why are we not listening to their commands? Why are we not reflecting that light? Why? It seems like a simple question, but it's not. So that's my challenge this week. Think about that. Do your inventory. What parts of the prism in my heart need to be wiped clean? Why are they not clean? What cleaning tools and products should I use to get that off? Because Windex doesn't do everything for Windows. Much like Aaron talked about last week, dying to ourselves each and every day. That goes hand in hand with this. If I'm reflecting Darren every second of every day, then I'm not dying to myself. If I'm full of Darren, that cup is full. There's no room to fill it with the Holy Spirit, to fill it with God, to fill it with love. I must become less so he can become more. I must die every day and take up my cross to represent God. I must reflect his light, not the light of me, not the light of Greg. Sorry, again, I'm poking at you a lot. Not the light of whoever, anyone, everyone, family members. It doesn't matter how much you love someone. They're not the light you should be reflecting. And that's not to, put anyone down, because again, I love my dad a lot. So it's not a knock at him. It's not a knock at me. But what have we ever done? Honestly. Any good we have done was through God anyway. So I have no trophies. I have no medals. I only have myself. And through that, God picks up everything. Right? God covers those bases. God takes my shortcomings and lifts them into something better, into strengths. So do that inventory. Think about it. Pray about it. Talk to people about it. How can you be the experience of God to someone this week? Because that study a lot of us are going through is experiencing God. It's not just about us experiencing God ourselves. But there's plenty of people out here who need to experience God. And if they're not going to be in church, if they're not going to be in the Bible, if they're not going to think about it or be open to it, we need to be that experience. And we can't do that on our own. Let me close with prayer. Father God, I thank you so much for all the amazing people you've put in my life. Not just friends or family, not just mentors, but the people I have difficult times with as well. Because that's a challenge I have to figure out, I have to work around. Father, I pray that we're able to look inside of ourselves and have the discernment to realize what lights we're reflecting, what we need to do to fix them. Father, I pray that it's laid on our hearts throughout this week to keep in mind what you would have us do. Jesus said, "He who loves me and heeds my commandments loves my Father as well." And he also said, "There is no one who can go to the Father but through me." Let us be your children. Let us follow your commands. Let us long to be more like you each and every day. Father, I know I fall short of that every single day. constant. But it's through your amazing grace and your forgiveness that someone like me who doesn't deserve a single bit of that not only has this opportunity, but is someone who you have used to further your kingdom. That blows my mind all the time. And I know that even something like that is so small compared to the absolute power and majesty that you have. But it's still so amazing that you can use us like that. Father, I thank you for the opportunities. I pray that we're aware of them this week, that we are on the watch to be able to not only experience you and have a better relationship with you, Father, but also to be the experience people need. The world is scary. The world is hurt. Please let us be a part of your healing.